into ash and cinder cones, composite cones, parasitic cones and basic lava cones. Now first coming to ash and cinder cones, as the name suggests, they are mostly made up of ash or dust materials or pyroclastic fragmental materials. Just to give a very brief idea, ash and cinder cones are made up of dust materials, pyroclastic material, that is the fragments which come out during the volcanic eruption. We have done it in the previous part of volcanoes, that is these are the made up of lapilli, bombs, pea-size shaped dust, volcanic ash. So the lava cones, the ash and cinder cones are the cones which are formed due to the pyroclastic material, which are formed due to ash, volcanic ash, etc. Then on other hand, the composite cones are the cones which are formed due to cementation of alternate layers of pyroclastic material, lava. Pyroclastic material, lava. Here there is less dominance of lava, here there is more dominance of lava. Now compared to these two cones, because there is a more lava here, it is made up of layers of lava and pyroclastic material. The lava here acts as a cementing material. It is a molten rock, so it acts like a cement, that it flows, and once it gets solidified, it compacts those molten materials, it compacts those pyroclastic material, and as a result composite cones are the highest and the most loftiest volcanic mountains in the world. Some of these bigger mountains, because the volcano does not have that much power on the bigger mountain to go to the top of the mountain, sometimes very small cones develop on the large cones. Obviously these cones are known as the parasitic cones. And lastly, basic lava cones are the kind of cones which are formed due to basic lava, and because they are formed due to basic lava, they go for very large distance before solidifying, therefore they are known as shield volcanoes. So the cones are divided into ash and cinder cones, composite cones, parasitic cones and the basic lava cones. Now we will do each and every cone in detail. These are the different kind of landforms, that is the cones characters. Now studying each of these landforms individually, we will first study the different types of cones. That is the ash and cinder cones, composite cones, parasitic cones and the basic lava cones. If the question is on the landforms, you are expected to write a little bit about this kind of a cones. So the first cone is the ash and cinder cones. See, have a look at this before I rub the figure. The ash and cinder cones are the cones which are formed due to ash and pyroclastic material. Because they are formed due to ash and pyroclastic material, there is general absence of lava, or the lava is very less, and as a result of this they do not attain a great height. These are the smaller cones which are as compared to the composite cones, because the composite cones are made up of larger materials, or we can sorry, the composite cones are made up of magma. So the ash and the cinder cones are the cones formed due to, you can take down, these are the formed due to unconsolidated material, due to accumulation such as ash and pyroclastic material, formed due to the accumulation of unconsolidated materials such as ash and pyroclastic materials. These are formed of volcanic dust and fragmented matter such as pyroclastic material. Hence they are of lower height as compared to the they are of lower height as compared to other type of cones known as composite cones. So these are of lower height as compared to the composite cones formed of ash and unconsolidated material during a volcanic eruption, represented by a single diagram which shows that they are formed of ash and unconsolidated material. Now the second type of a cone is composite cones. Here the definition is, these composite cones are formed due to alternate layers of lava and unconsolidated materials. So these are the cones which are formed. These are the cones which are formed due to accumulation of alternate layers of lava and fragmental matter. Because there is a presence of lava, lava acts as cementing material, and because there is a proper cementation, these are highest of all volcanic cones. These are the highest of all volcanic cones. Therefore, they are known as stratovolcanoes. So what are the composite cones? Formed due to alternate layers of or accumulation in the different layers of volcanic materials and lava. The lava acts as a cementing material results into compaction. Compaction results into this are the highest of all cones, and they are known as the stratovolcanoes. They can be represented in diagram like this. Now where there is an alternate layer of lava, lava is coming out, getting deposited. Then the next layer is of fragmented matter, that is pyroclastic material. Again a layer of lava. Layer of fragmented matter. So the kind of cones which are formed due to the alternate layers of lava and pyroclastic material are known as composite cones, or lava and the pyroclastic material is known as the composite cone. We have already done what are the pyroclastic materials. All the highest volcanoes in the world are made up of composite cones. The examples of the volcanoes of the composite cones are what are the important volcanoes we did? If you remember the previous lecture, we did some of the important volcanoes, that Mount Cotopaxi, the highest volcanic mountain in the world. The highest volcanic mountain in the world is made up of, is an example of Mount Mayon. Which country? Philippines. Mount Shasta, USA. Mount Fujiyama, Japan. Mount Krakatoa, Indonesia. These all are examples of composite volcanoes. So the composite volcanoes are formed due to the accumulation of alternate layers of lava and fragmented matter, where lava acts as a cementing material, and these are the highest of all volcanoes in the world. These are also known as the stratovolcanoes, and the examples are Mount Fujiyama, Japan; Mount Cotopaxi, Ecuador, which is the highest volcanic mountain in the world; Mount Mayon in Philippines; Mount Shasta, USA; and Mount Krakatoa in Indonesia, in the island of Sumatra. Now the third kind of a cone is known as a parasitic cone. Now you again take an example of this cone itself. This is one volcanic eruption which has taken place over a period of time. Now due to dormant period in between, this has got solidified into igneous matter. This cone has got solidified, and as a result of this, the next volcanic eruption, if it's very powerful, it may blow away the top of a mountain for the next volcanic eruption. But if the volcanic eruption is not as powerful, or the supply of the magma is not very large, then it will result into this magma may not rise on the top, but it will branch out in different direction, resulting into formation of smaller cones on one larger cone. So it will result into formation of a smaller cones on a larger cone. Such a cones which are formed after the subsequent volcanic eruption, which is smaller or which is not as powerful, or the cones in which, when there is on a large volcanic cone there are numerous smaller cones, such cones are known as parasitic cones. So what are these parasitic cones? It is a cone in which several branches of the pipes come out from main pipe, and as a result, smaller volcanic cones develop on larger cone. Several volcanic cones develop on the larger cone. It is an example of an parasitic cones. The best example in the world of a parasitic cone is, again we have done this mountain. Where is this mountain? It should click very quickly. Mount Shasta in US of A. It is an example of parasitic cones where the several smaller cones come on the top of main larger cones. So these are the three major types of volcanic cones that we have done: ash and cinder cones, we have done composite cones, and then we have done parasitic cones. On the Mount Shasta you will see many smaller cones coming on the larger cone. So when we'll finish with the geomorphology, I will revise the entire concepts of geomorphology with a PowerPoint presentation, and I will again show you what are these different, so that you will get a real idea of how this looks in the real life. The next cone is known as the basic lava cone. What is the characteristics of a basic lava? Why we call it as a basic lava? It has low percentage of which material? Silica. Because it is a low percentage of silica, it has higher fluidity. That is, it flows for a larger distance because it has low viscosity. So it comes out and flows for a very larger distance at a great speed before solidifying. And as a result of this, a cone is formed in the basic lava, which is of gentle slope. For example, if a lava is coming from magma is coming from the interior of the earth, as a result of this, the cone, before being solidified, it will flow. The lava, before getting solidified, it will flow for a larger distance as compared to the acidic lava. On the other hand, if the acidic lava is coming out, because it cannot flow for a larger distance, it will get solidified. Subsequent volcanic eruption will keep on increasing the height of a volcano, resulting into formation of either composite cone or either ash and cinder cone. But this is of a acidic lava. Don't get confused with this diagram. This is just to make you understand how it is different from this kind of an lava. But in this kind of a basic lava. Before the lava can get solidified, it will flow for a larger distance as compared to the basic lava. And because why it flows for a larger distance? Because it has high fluidity, because it can, and therefore it flow, even the subsequent volcanic eruption happens, it will again flow for a larger distance, and as a result of this, the cone will be of a gentle slope. It will be having a gentle slope. So basic lava cones are cones because of which are having gentle slope. Which are having gentle slope. Now why gentle slope? Because of higher degree of fluidity. Therefore, they cover or they flow because of higher degree of fluidity. Therefore, they flow for large distance before solidifying. Such lava cones are known as basic lava cones. Or they are also known as shield volcanoes. They are also known as, remember this word, they are also known as shield volcanoes. So what are the shield cones or shield volcanoes? These are the basic lava cones which are having gentle slope. Why they are having gentle slope? Because the basic lava has higher degree of fluidity, so they flow for a larger distance before solidifying, resulting into formation of a gentle slope in such kind of an lavas. These basic lava cones are found in of Hawaii Islands. These are found in the Hawaii Island region. Why they are known as shield? If you look at this part, doesn't it look like a shield which used to be a weapon for defense weapon for defending oneself during the old battlefield? So it looks like a shield. Therefore, they are known as shield volcanoes. So these are the different types of cones known as. So we have done the different types of cones known, starting from ash and cinder cones of a lower height, composite cones of a greater height. These are the highest volcanic cones, why they are highest? Because the lava acts as a cementing material. Then on this such high volcanic cones, there are some smaller cones which develop due to subsequent volcanic eruption. They are known as parasitic cones. And lastly, we have done the basic lava cones which are having gentle slope because of higher degree of fluidity. Now the other kind of a landforms is crater. What is a crater? Crater is an vent or an opening on a volcano. As I told you, how do we generally represent the volcanic mountain? It is represented through this kind of a vent or an opening. Why? Because it is from where here the lava will come out, the smoke and the gas will come out and it will flow. It is not represented as a proper folded mountain or neither as a flat block mountain. This is an example of a fold mountain. This is a diagram of a block mountain. This is a diagram of a volcanic mountain. So crater is a vent or opening through which the magma comes out and flows at a lava. The vent or opening at the top of a volcano is known as a crater. It is a funnel shaped depression which is known as a crater. Sometimes the crater becomes larger in size, then such a larger size crater is known as caldera. Sometimes in a very, very bigger volcanoes, once a volcanic eruption occurs, the volcano may get dormant. As a result of the dormancy, there may be one crater which is formed, but subsequent volcanic eruption may result into formation of another crater inside the main crater. That is, the next volcanic eruption may be smaller as compared to the first volcanic eruption. Such a crater which is formed inside the crater is known as nested crater. Okay. So crater is what is a crater? Vent or opening on volcanic mountain. It is a vent or opening or the volcanic mountain, or we can say it is a depression. Very large craters. In size are known as calderas. What is then? Smaller eruptions, smaller volcanic eruptions may result into formation of small craters into an existing large craters. Such a crater is known as nested crater. Such a crater is known as nested crater. That is a smaller craters inside the large crater. Now, obviously, these volcanic regions are, when we'll come to climatology, we'll see that there are numerous gases and water vapor which are released during a volcanic eruption. This water vapor and gases act as especially the water vapor and the dust particles act as hygroscopic nuclei which may cause rainfall. And as a result, water vapor is released, humidity is increased, These are the areas which also have heavy rainfall. Now due to this, sometimes the water is filled inside the crater. After the solidification of magma and lava, subsequent rainfall, because this is a depression, may result into filling of this depression with water. And as a result, it results into a lake is formed. Such a lake is known as crater lake. Such a lake is known as a crater lake. That is, when the depression, what is a crater lake? Crater lake is when the water collects inside the crater. Water collects inside the crater, resulting into formation of a crater lake. So initially a large one crater is formed. Due to the subsequent volcanic eruption, the size of the crater will increase. We'll call this as a caldera. If there is a volcanic eruption which is later on smaller, it will result into formation of nested craters. It will result into the formation of nested craters. That is the crater inside the crater. It will result into formation of a nested crater. If a water is filled inside the crater, it will result into the formation of a lake. Such a lake is known as a crater lake. So crater is vent or opening on a volcanic mountain. It is a funnel shaped depression. The craters which are larger in size are known as calderas. Smaller volcanic eruption may result into formation of a smaller crater into an existing large crater. Such craters inside the crater is known as a nested crater. When the water collects inside the crater, it results into formation of a lake. Such a lake is known as a crater lake. Are there any new examples of a crater lake in the world? Yes, there are numerous examples, but out of which these are the most important examples are examples of a crater lake in the world are Lake Toba in Sumatra, which that is Indonesia. Lake Fujiyama Japan, on Mount Fuji which we have done as a composite cone. Crater lake in USA. Crater lake in USA. Lake Krakatoa again in Sumatra, Indonesia. Again in Indonesia. So these are the important crater lakes of the world, out of which you remember Lake Toba and Lake Fujiyama. More importantly, the top three lakes are very, very important, which can be asked in Match the Column. So crater, or this is again a kind of an extrusive igneous landforms or extrusive volcanic landforms, which is a kind of depression resulting into formation of a larger crater known as caldera. Crater inside a crater is known as rested crater, and when the water is filled in the crater, it is known as a crater lake. Crater lake results, crater lakes, there are major examples are Lake Toba, Lake Fujiyama, and crater lakes in USA. The next kind of an volcanic landforms are volcanic plateaus. That is, what is a plateau? A table-like landform which has been, it is a table landform. It is having a, what do you mean by table-like landform? That is having a flat surface but with steep sides, similar to a table. So it is known as a volcanic plateau. So this flat table-like landform, here what you have to remember from the exam point of view, it has a little chance of being asked as a mains question, but it will result in what it will be. It can be asked as which of the following are the volcanic plateaus. So some of the important volcanic plateaus of the world are some of the important volcanic plateaus in the world are: first, Deccan Plateau, India; Deccan Lava Plateau; Siberian Plateau, Siberia, Russia; in Siberia, Russia; Parana, Paraguay Plateau region, South America; Columbia Snake Plateau, USA; Icelandic Plateau, Iceland; Icelandic Plateau, Iceland; North Island Plateau in New Zealand. This island is in the north, so North Island Plateau of New Zealand; so the North Islandic Plateau of New Zealand. That is, these are some of the very important volcanic plateau in the world. Again, some of the other important plateaus are the island of Java in Indonesia. You can take the island of Java in Indonesia. Island of Java in Indonesia. So these are the major volcanic plateaus of the world. There are two small concepts which are related to volcanoes. They are geysers and hot springs. Have you experienced what a geyser is? Have you seen a geyser? What is a geyser? Geyser is something from where hot water comes out. It is also known as hot spring. These are the major tourist destination, and also they have some benefits in the terms of they are good for skin problems. So what are these geysers and hot springs? Now, or why the water becomes hot in this region? Now take for example this diagram. Suppose this is an area where there is which has a history of a volcanic eruption in the terms of an volcano or in the terms of an volcanic plateau. That means somewhere down there is a molten magma which is coming up. Somewhere down there is a formation of a sill or dikes in this region. Now if this part of a rock structure, if this is a part of a rock structure underground, जहाँ पे there is presence of a groundwater in this part of a rock structure. If there is a presence of a groundwater in the rocks, this groundwater will get obviously heated up, and as a result of this groundwater will come out in the form of a spring. That is hot spring. So this water will be an obviously hot water. Why hot water? It is hot water because it is coming in contact with this magma or lava. That is coming in contact with this magma. It is heating up of the water. So the geysers and hot springs are associated with volcanic eruption. What is a hot spring? A hot spring is an area where hot water comes out from the ground. Why the water is hot? When there is a hot water, it shows that the area is having a history or was having the history of an volcanic eruption. So when the hot water comes out from the ground, it is known as a hot spring. So what is the geyser? Geyser and hot spring are defined only on the basis of interval. If there is a continuous flow of a groundwater, then it is known as a hot spring or spring, when there is a continuous flow of a groundwater. But if the groundwater is coming out at some intervals, maybe after every 2 days or after every 10 days or after every 1 hour, then it is known as a geyser. So the difference between hot spring and a geyser is, hot spring is when hot groundwater sprouts or comes out continuously, then it is known as a hot spring. And geyser is when the hot water comes out when the hot water comes out irregularly, or we can say at intervals. It is known as geysers. When the hot water comes out irregularly or at intervals, then it is known as a geyser. So this is the only difference between the hot spring and the geysers. Which is, are there location in India? There are numerous places where there are geysers. We will do it that in Indian geography. But some of the important geysers in the world are, there are maximum amount of geysers found in Yellowstone National Park of USA, where one of the best known geyser in the world is Old Faithful Geyser. Second is Iceland. As we have done, it is an example of an volcanic plateau. Why is Iceland formed? Because of the coming up of the magma from below the surface of the earth and above the water and getting solidified, because the Iceland lies on the mid-oceanic ridge. So Iceland is an example of an geyser. Geyser land is an example of an volcanic landform. There are geysers, so many geysers, that Iceland is known as a land of geysers. Geysers are also found in New Zealand region. So the geysers and hot springs are when the hot water comes out continuously. When the hot water it is an hot spring. When the hot water comes out irregularly or at intervals, it is known as a geyser. The Old Faithful Geyser is one of the world's best known geysers. It is found in the Yellowstone National Park in USA. While there are numerous geysers in Iceland and in the New Zealand region. Now, one more concept, the last concept in the volcanic eruption is the fumaroles. Now imagine this, if there is no water here, or if the volcano is in the dying stage, that means it does not have that much power that it will flow as a magma and come out on the surface of the earth, but obviously it is in the dying state, so the magma is coming and getting solidified somewhere below the surface of the earth. If this magma is getting solidified even in this region, and on the top of it there is a very less water, but there are numerous number of gases. Now if these are gases here, then the water, instead of water, some kind of a smoke will come out. Such kind of a smoke which comes out from the surface of the earth is known as fumaroles. So instead of gases, there is an emission of, so instead of water in the hot spring, there is an emission of gases and water vapor. Such are known as fumaroles. So what are the fumaroles? When there is an emission of gases and water vapor instead of water comes out if there is an emission of water here, it will be known as a spring. If there is emission of a gases and water vapor, there will be known as the fumaroles. So when there is emission of gases and water vapor, they are known as the fumaroles. Generally, these hot springs and geysers and the fumaroles are rich in sulfur, and that's why they are very good for treating skin disease problems. Why? If you want to have a practical example, when you keep milk for boiling, so the milk boils, and if you don't still remove the milk from the gas, the milk will start evaporating. It will evaporate until a certain limit, and after that, when the entire milk evaporates, the milk starts getting burnt. After that, when the milk also gets finished, and if you still by mistake leave the gas on, you will see that the vessel in which you have kept the milk starts burning, and large amount of gases or large amount of smoke starts coming out. Now what does it show? That there is no milk to be boiled. That is why the vessel starts burning and large amount of smoke is coming out. Same thing you can apply it to the volcanoes. When there is large amount of magma comes out. When the magma is of less amount, and if on the top there is a groundwater, the groundwater comes out in the form of a hot spring. Once even the groundwater get exhausted, even the magma is not there, but still there is high temperature inside the earth, the gases expand and they come out from that opening, resulting into the fumaroles. Now, does this means that the fumaroles shows the last stage of the volcanic activity. These occur in the last stage, and they are activities which occur just before the extinction, death of an volcano. So remember that the foreman, or we can say, it shows that after the fumaroles, there is no magma to come out, the volcano won't be active now. What do you mean by active volcano? That is, there is a continuous volcanic eruption. Dormant means the volcano has not erupted for a long time. Extinct means the volcano has not erupted in the recent past. So what are the fumaroles? The fumaroles are a last stage. What it is a last stage or last sign of activeness of volcano. So these are the fumaroles. So we have finished with the topic of volcano. What are the different types of questions we can expect here is, from the mains examination point of view, what are volcanoes? Describe the process of volcanic eruption or volcanism. Question next you can expect is, explain volcanoes with plate tectonic theory. Next is explain different types of volcanic landforms. Explain the different types of volcanic landforms. So what are volcanoes? How do you distinguish from volcanism? We already know how does the plate tectonic theory explain volcanoes, and what are the different type of volcanic landforms. We have done today as intrusive landforms and extrusive landforms. Intrusive landforms are sill, dike, laccolith, phacolith, batholith and lupolith, while the extrusive landforms are the volcanic cones, volcanic craters, volcanic plains and volcanic plateaus. Or they can ask you a very simple question, what do you mean by geyser? Distinguish between the geyser and hot spring. So this is a very simple topic, you can relate it to the volcanic chapter. Now the next topic which we are going to study is the earthquakes.